How can your stage of life, your work, and your passion all align to help you to build a business, one that helps others who are just like you, and one that gives you fulfillment? Well, I think today's guest is going to help you do just that. Listen, you got to check out this episode. Let's go.
Welcome to the Monetize Your Ministry podcast.
And you get a chance to interact with them. To me, that's full-time ministry.
Did I happy because Tattoo business is like a feed. It brings in itself and then it opens.
I want to provide content and things that are going to help change lives, and I simultaneously want to receive a blessing from that.
Now here's your host, Kymone Hines.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Listen, we bring you good content here, whether I'm sharing or we have a guest, and today we have a guest. I'm going to introduce her in a minute. I don't know what just happened there. Just had a glitch. But before I do want to encourage you that if you have not subscribed to the podcast yet or to the YouTube channel, go to YouTube and search for my name at Kymone Hines and subscribe, check out past episodes, share this with someone. You want to make sure that you are up on all of this good content. And listen, before I forget, I do have a free workshop that is coming up this Thursday at 7 p.m. You want to go to this website, www.monetizeyourministry.com/workshop. That's monetizeyourministry.com/workshop. It's a free workshop on how to turn your passion into income and impact. So make sure you go there and you check it out. Listen, let me, without any further delay, let me bring in our guest today. There's so much that we're going to talk about today, but allow me to introduce her just a little. Our guest today is Toula Adu. Toula has been in business for over 5 years. She was the owner of Busy Bee Organizing, a home organization service in Maryland. And in the last year, she has found a way to focus on both of her passions, organizing and motherhood. Listen, we got to dig into that. She noticed that most of her organizing clients were overwhelmed working mothers who hired her to get their homes in order. And so, through conversations with her clients, she realized an important similarity between all of the mothers. They felt like they were always choosing between focusing on their homes and families, while their own self-care fell to the back burner. I'm going to pause my introduction here, because what I want to do is allow Toula to tell us more about the story. So Toula, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. That was a great introduction.
Yeah. So Toula, I want to start off. I don't want to get into the story just yet. What I do want to ask, and I should have prepped you for this. What is something about Toula that people would be surprised to learn? Ooh, I should have prepared you.
No, I actually have an answer. It's the answer I always give. I'm really goofy.
Okay.
100% goofy. People don't know that because I'm very polite in public and I'm polite all around. But if you see me at work or whatever, I'm very polite and I think of my words before I speak, and I just really care about how I come across. But at home in my comfort zone, goofball, complete goofball.
Okay. And you mentioned home, and we're going to get into family, but tell us a little bit about your family, just because I think it gives context for the conversation.
Yeah. So home for me is in Maryland. I've been in Maryland going on 8-9 years, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We've lived here for a while now. I love it completely, but originally from Michigan and Detroit, and before that, Canada and Toronto.
Okay.
So, home for me, I have like almost 3 different homes, I think of it. But home, as far as where I live, is here. I live with my husband, Caleb. We've been married for 16 years coming up. And then we have 2 girls, and one is 13 and one is 9, about to be 10 in a couple of months. And they keep us busy. You kind of think as a parent it's going to get less busy when it doesn't. It just changes. No. So yeah.
So you have a teenager and you're about to have a teenager. That's the way I say it.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, awesome. Well, I'm so excited that you kind of gave us the overview. Now, Toula, one of the things before we started recording, we talked about is we both attended the same university, Andrews University.
Yeah,
You did something that my daughter is doing right now. So my daughter is
absolutely.
in Argentina studying abroad.
Hmm.
I want us to go into what you do for your work and business, but take us back to school. Like, what did you study? Because we know what you're doing now, but what does someone need to study? Or
That
let's
is
see the
so.
path. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. So I was privileged to kind of, know what I wanted to do when I was in high school. Went to some career fairs and decided I wanted to be a speech language pathologist. And
Okay.
so that's actually what I do as my day work, right? My profession throughout the day. It's what I went to school for. Um, but honestly, when it was about to be my senior year at Andrews, I just felt this impending doom of having to grow up and I didn't want to. And I was like, I need to do something that gives me extra time before I have to become like an adult. And someone mentioned like you should go study abroad, and that is how I ended up going to Argentina. And
Mm,
I I would love to go back. I tell my kids about it all the time. I show them pictures, and it was weird because it was just this small snapshot of my life.
mhm,
But it really has helped me, I think, in my profession because I actually work with a lot of Spanish speaking families. So in order to not just be able to like communicate with them, right? Able to speak Spanish with them, I feel like I'm very aware of cultural differences, right? Coming from my parents are from South America, Andrews was like a melting pot.
mhm,
But even
mhm,
I think in my field where you're just meeting families every day, it's
mhm.
really important to kind of come in and almost assume you don't know, like be aware that there's information that you don't know. So I find that that one little year in Argentina really impacted me.
Yeah. So you said speech language pathology.
Yeah, such a long name.
Yeah. So that's your degree. You
Yeah.
said that's your day job, right? Where does organizing, home organizing, where does that come in? Like, is there a class in that what during your
Yeah. So when you meet professional, the term is called professional organizer.
sorry.
They
Yeah.
can do, nope, I'm just telling you that's what it's called. It's the fancy name, but really what it means is you know a lot about organizing. At some point, I realized that people used to do it for money, and I was just naturally an organized person. So as a child, if you came in my room, like my room was really neat. Having kids now, I know that's not the norm, but that was my room.
So tell me this, at college, were you the person who your room was, or like when they did
Yeah,
room checks, if they
yeah,
ever did that, right? Like, was that stuff like, oh, it's in order?
always.
What?
Like, everything had a place, yeah.
Wow.
Again,
Okay, where did
I didn't know that that was not I thought everybody was like that.
okay, is that from okay, and I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. But like were
You're
your
fine.
parents like that? Like is that like your family made you like that? Like where did you get that from?
My mom is really organized, and actually, that's kind of it ties into the whole business. As an adult now and a mom myself, she used it to simplify her life because she was always at work. So simple things like when we came home, we would get a ride home because she would still be at work. We'd get a ride home from like a family friend. Sometimes my dad would pick us up, but she had a schedule on the fridge of what she expected us to do when we got home. We just followed it. But now I see that for her, it was her kind of making sure that we expected that the expectations were there. And when she got home, she wasn't having to give us like a bunch of directions. We kind of were in the routine
Mhm.
of some of the things we could do without her there. So really that's kind of where I learned about organization was from my mom. She was a she still is. She was a very organized person.
Okay. And how many of you all were in your family?
Similar to my family, my
No, how
parents
many?
and my sister and I. So
Okay, so
just
it's oh, okay, so two.
yep.
Okay, so you're in school, you've always been organized, like it's almost like a legacy passed down from your mom to you,
I like to
right?
see it.
And maybe you're passing this down. So
I don't
at
know that
what
I'm passing it down, but yeah.
at what point do you see, okay, people are starting to come to me, just even as a college student, like people are saying, can you help me with this? Kind of talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I think it would happen when I I think mostly honestly when I had my first daughter because I think Instagram was new then and I would post like things that I organized like in her bedroom or we had bought a house and I just used to document, that's when
Mhm.
Instagram was just at the beginning it was just about pictures and I would post things that I had done And so, yeah, friends would be like, hey, either I'm having a baby, can you come help me with something? Or I'm moving into a new space. And it just, people would just ask me for my expertise, for my opinion, really, on their homes.
Okay. So was there any point where you were like you were doing this, there was no charge to it? Like, talk to us about that start of the journey. And
Absolutely.
was there a point where it started to be like, okay, this is a little bit much?
So, I don't know. I wouldn't say so because I wasn't doing it that often. I think I always did it for people that I wanted to help. I'm a helper by nature, probably to a fault. So it never felt like it got too much, but I think what happened was then I had my second child,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of all happened simultaneously. I now had two kids. We had just moved again, but this time like across country. So we were living in Canada, moved back to Michigan. Um, I remember feeling very overwhelmed by all my stuff. And again, I was that was my outlet. Like organizing was my way of just feeling like, okay, like I just need to be able to find things like diapers, right? I need to be able to, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want, like, how can I make my life less stressful um, now that I have another child? And so it never got to be too much. But that at that same time, actually, I don't know if you've ever heard of Marie Kondo.
Oh, yes.
Okay, there you go.
Oh,
So
yes. I have a
that's
book.
when people
My,
really,
my
she
clothes are
became my,
organized that way. I'm a Marie Kondo fan, but go ahead.
yes, that's when she started to become mainstream. Her book had come out at first, The Magic of Tidying Up, and I
Mm-hmm.
read it. And when I read it, not only did it resonate with me, I just remember thinking, "Oh, people do this for work, like, they organize," and I just had never connected it. Even though I was helping people, I didn't realize it was like a profession or a job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's so interesting. Um, I'm still on Marie Kondo. Recently, I took all my clothes, put them in the middle, sorted it. Does it give me joy? Doesn't it give me
Yeah,
joy? Yeah, I did all of that.
yeah,
But to your point now, you're doing something. One, first of all, you saw your mom do it. You were doing this to simplify your life, to keep life, like organized so that you could be the mom that you wanted to be.
absolutely.
Now, here comes people saying, hey, can you help us with this? Can you help us with this? And you're helping people. And you see someone else doing it and
Mhm.
getting paid for it, right?
Yeah.
So when did you I wonder if you remember who was the first person you charged for this?
I remember my friend Celeste, she lives in Michigan still. She still talks about her pantry. If I go to her house, she'll be like, "Don't look at it. It looks so bad now."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not judging you, but she was I always tell her she was the first person who actually wanted to pay me. She asked me to help her, but she was like, "I'm gonna give you money for it." I'm like, I hadn't taken money at that point, so I'm like, "No, no, like I love you. Like I'm here to help you." She's like, "That's nothing to do with anything," and I
Mhm.
think she might have given me like $250, and I remember thinking like, I can't take money for this.
So she's offered you the money. She didn't
She
ask you for
offered
a
me the
price.
money.
She gave you the okay.
No, she gave me because she actually asked me a price, and I think if I remember correctly, I kinda was like, "I don't know." You know, like,
Mhm.
when you start out as
Oh,
an entrepreneur, you're
mhm.
so nervous to charge people,
Yeah.
and
Tula, what do
so
you think? What do you think that is? Why do you think because someone's watching this right now? Our guest is Toula Adu.
yeah,
Um, what do you think that is for us new entrepreneurs that makes us like, I'm so afraid to charge?
I think we don't really believe in ourselves, right?
Mhm.
You don't really believe that you have something to offer, and until you realize that you have something to offer and that really that is your ministry, like, that is something you actually do well, you'll kind of play back and forth with like, do I charge? What do I charge? That's not an issue for me anymore.
Ooh, all right, all
It's
right.
been,
Oh, that's
but
good.
that's years in the making though, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the second person? I want to know the first person that you now said, I'm gonna charge you. Right.
So
I mean,
that
that be
was
the second person,
another,
might be the person you said, I'm gonna charge this person.
yeah,
You had to come up with a price. Walk us through that because somebody is where you are at that stage.
you're so right. So I think at the time it was a bit tricky. I don't know how it is in other like professions or fields, but sometimes people can be kind of mum about what they charge. So I remember trying to do some research, like, well, what's applicable? Like what do people charge for this? And I couldn't find information because no one had prices on their website. No one wanted to see what they were charging. And a friend had seen the pantry I had done for that friend. And asked me to do the same thing for hers. And so I don't remember to this day what I charged her, but I remember just kind of coming up with a price, telling her that this is what it would cost. And you always have that aha moment when they're like,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
really? You always have that moment. You're like, oh, you're like expecting a little bit of a pushback or
Right.
that's too expensive.
Negotiation.
Yeah. And then when they're just like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, you're like, "Oh, wow, that was pretty cool." So, yeah, it was shortly after that I helped another friend.
So Tula, one of the things that I think I've seen you do well is, and I don't
Mhm,
want to miss this, you document your journey, right?
okay.
Even before you knew this was going to be a business, you took pictures of the room
Mm,
you were doing, right? And in that first person's room, you documented it, you put it out there. And I think, yes, there's some businesses that works easier, right? If doing videos or pictures, but just talk about that. Because I think that's how I even saw your work. You
yeah.
documented your journey. I'm doing this course. So talk
Mm,
about
mm.
that, and maybe it's just instinctive for you, but talk about that part of your journey.
I mean, I think for me, I've always documented I actually say this about organizing, right? Because I think when you look at organizing, it either sounds very, like, foo-foo, like,
Hmm.
fancy and pretty and perfect, which it's not, right? Or then there are the people who, are like, "Ugh, I'm not interested in being organized because they don't really know what that
Yeah,
means."
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can do
My
that.
part of my purpose in documenting from the very beginning actually was I had a very deep need for it to be relatable, and so I wasn't just documenting for myself, but to show other people almost like, "See, this is what I did, and it's not that complicated." Like,
Hmm.
even if you need support with doing it, it's not this unattainable thing. So, I just know that has been something in my documentation of my business that
Hmm.
I've always tried to I still think I do try to come across as very relatable because then people almost feel like you can't help them if it
Hmm.
doesn't look relatable.
Yeah. Now, what does documentation look like for you? Do you do before and after pictures? What do you do?
Yeah, definitely do before and after pictures, but, definitely forget to do the before pictures all the time. Definitely forget to do before pictures because, for the before pictures, I'm so excited about jumping in
Yeah.
to the process. So usually I had to actually then end up including it in my process where I would go out and look at someone's space, or sometimes I would virtually kind of connect with them. But in that spot, I would say, hey, either take some pictures or I would go take pictures. Cause if it's the day and I'm actually about to work on the project, I literally just get in there and I'm like taking everything out. It looks better now. And I'm like, oh, I didn't take any pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, do before and after pictures. I also document a lot about what the client's looking for. So there's like a survey that they fill out and I do with every client, kind of like, what are you looking for? What are the problems? What do you need? What do you like? That has been really helpful because I can refer to that as I'm supporting them. And then, yeah, I I've dabbled with recording video. That always feels a little bit more stressful.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I think the good point you make is that for anyone who is doing work before and after, right?
Yeah.
Don't just do after, because sometimes we don't appreciate the before if we can't see it. You go, oh, okay, that looks
Mm,
good. No, but you don't know what that started off at. And that is
that
for
is
you if
so
you are
true.
coaching people, that's for you if you are working with, find some way to capture the before parts of that story.
That is so true. You have to
Yeah,
have like that snapshot to see like what you really accomplished. And
yeah.
actually, every single time when I would hold on to that before picture, finish the job, and then send it to the client or show them in person.
Mhm,
They were always like, "Wha" like, just shocked at
mhm.
how their space looked like before. It's almost like they couldn't remember it. They were like, "That
Yeah,
looks really, like man, that looks stressful," or, "That looks really bad," or, "No wonder I couldn't find anything." But
yeah,
they never really remembered the before, so the picture was also important there.
yeah. Now, Tula, I want you to help us with two things. I want to go down two roads on this, right? You said my day job, I'm a speech language pathologist.
Yeah.
And you also said that you've got more clients. So I want to go down these two roads, and I'll start with this one here first. Tell us how you get more clients? How have you gotten more clients along the way? What have been your strategies?
Honestly, networking in multiple ways. You have to network in ways that feel relatable to you or true to you. So it can't be like fake. But meeting other professional organizers. Shout out to there's a National Association of Black Professional Organizers. There's Black girls who organize. Like those are my ladies, my sisters, and they've it I will say this, in the field of organizing, like many other, right, things that people do, when you look honestly, if you look at magazines, even the shows that are on TV about organizing, you're not seeing a lot of people like us, right? You're just
Mhm.
not. And so that was hard for me in my business too, because I think it played into me thinking I wasn't good enough
Mm.
because yeah, there's just a lot of reasons why I felt like, am I the only one out here? So networking actually worked out perfect for me and will help me like identify better business goals, improve my business, talk to other people about my business, but it also gave me other ways of networking to get clients.
Yeah, that's so
So
good.
yeah, it
So
was really great.
networking. So you went to other groups that had organizers in it. But what are some other places you network? Because
Mhm.
maybe someone this what are some other places I can go looking for people to connect with?
You have to think about who your client is. That is so important, right? When I finally narrowed it down, my client, like if I could describe it, I'm like, my client is a mom. They have children probably up until like mid-teens, right? So from like a infant to 15, but usually like not even as young as an infant, because then they feel kind of confident, a little bit like, okay, it's diapers. They're
Yeah.
not organizing all the things yet.
Mhm.
It's more like their kids are a little bit older, they're school age, their kids have extracurricular activities. That was my client, right? So then I had to think about, well, where do I meet those people?
Mhm.
So I would put myself in spaces to be able to meet more moms. Like, most communities have other mom networks. My community has a bingo night, right? Just word
Bingo.
of mouth.
Mhm.
Yes. We're a bunch of moms, I guess, who don't have enough fun going play bingo. But meeting new neighbors, I guess just putting myself in places where I thought my ideal client would be.
That's so good. I'm glad you said that because some people, and this is not discounting work doing networking online, doing online things, posting your pictures, right? But a lot of people get intimidated because I don't know social media. And you just said go to places where human beings are.
Yeah,
And for some of us, that's actually like more liberating for us. I can do that.
yeah. It's the original networking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
It's right.
original,
Because
right?
everything
Just
else is
word
a
of mouth.
social network. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
still get clients word of mouth,
Yeah.
right? That, I'm not organizing as much right now, but I definitely still get clients word of mouth. Again, from just having conversations. You just never know when you have a conversation with someone if that will matter to them later or they'll tell someone else about you. You have to I think also you have to be confident as an entrepreneur in talking about what you do. No one's gonna know about it if you don't talk
True.
about it.
Hide it under a bushel,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So talk to us. I love the fact that you said my day job because, listen, if everyone's business could blow up, they could be super billionaires and they don't have to work another job, fine. But that's not most people who are going to start a business.
Yeah.
It's going to be a side hustle at some point.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that balance. How are you balancing?
Mhm.
How does that work? How do you kind of make it all happen and be a mom,
Um,
right, and a wife?
yeah. So, I feel that in my business
Hmm.
that I am really good. I've become very good at pivoting. And what I mean by that is I feel like I'm at least twice a year, but probably more often than that, I'm just almost analyzing what's happening
Hmm.
in my side hustle, right? And if it's working for me.
Hmm.
I think I'll tell you this, so after the pandemic, everybody and their mom, they were wanted to get organized, people were hiring professional organizers. This was probably maybe 2022. I had the most clients I had ever had, in my business,
Hmm.
and I wasn't necessarily overworking. I would organize one day throughout the week and then also on the weekend. Um, and I made the most money I'd ever made in my business that year. And when the year ended, I said to myself, I'm really tired. I don't know that I liked that. And that was for me, right? I think I was trying to attain this part where it became my permanent income. And then I just realized I didn't want it to be that. But I think what I mean though is you have to decide what you want out of this business. Because if you're not thinking about it, it could easily start to run your life.
Mhm.
And now you kind of, you know what I mean? Like you almost
Yeah,
like drag your feet doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I've always pivoted, meaning like, okay, what's working, what's not, and giving myself permission to make a different decision for my business because it's mine.
I love that. You just
Yeah,
said it's my business, right?
it is.
Yeah, it's yours. And the interesting thing is you can take advice from others and look at others as templates, but for everyone watching this, it's your business,
It is.
and
And it can
you have the
be
chance
what
to
you
run it.
want it to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think with entrepreneurship, especially with social media, you see it.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost like, because you see it so much, you're like, well, that's what I should do. And then you have to get to a point where you're believing yourself. Now you know that you can do this, but what do you want it to look like?
Yeah, yeah. What stage in the business journey did you start like saying, no, this is what I want it to look like? Was it from the beginning, or did it take you a little while?
It was, oh yeah, it took me a while. It was just recently, like maybe 3 years ago.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, oh, so much I want to get into. All right. So you
Video
said,
organizing can be so interesting.
yeah. I mean, I think I want people to understand. Like, I love the fact that you're leaning into something that you've always been good at. And
Mm,
for someone, you might think, well, it's not a big deal what I do. It's so simple. And what's simple to you is complicated to someone else.
it
And
really is.
what's simple can have amazing impact, right? And which is
Oh, I love
what you're
that.
demonstrating for families, for moms, for everyone. But when you told us who your target audience is, I smiled. You said it's moms, got like teenagers, they got other kids, maybe not as young as a toddler or whatever. And I was like, your target is you. You're your
Oh my
target.
gosh. Yes, you're right. My target is me.
But which is a good point. So I've heard this statement: you are perfectly designed to help the former and current version of yourself. So talk about that. You
Mm.
figuring out your target and it aligning with, this is who I am.
I love that. And just pondering what you said, that is so good. Um, I think when I started, actually, when you asked kind of when I started making changes in my business is when I noticed that too. At the
Mhm,
time, I was also doing some business coaching,
mhm,
which if you're really serious about your business, whatever it is, I recommend you do. You don't have to do it all the time or permanently, but talking to someone else who understands being an entrepreneur and helping you figure out, like, if you're doing things that make sense, that was really helpful. And she was the one that pointed out, like, you are your target client. And
mhm.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And so then it almost like freed me again to just like, oh, I know this. Like it gave me more confidence
Mhm,
because I'm like, oh, I understand. It's funny in my course that I have one of the stories I tell at the beginning. I say, I can still see it. I'm holding my daughter. She's under 1. My other daughter's 4. I'm standing in a just what feels like a room of laundry. And I want to cry because I'm like, how did we have 1 kid and now I just feel like I don't have the time for everything. I also had an interesting comparison because my eldest was born in Canada, where I got a year off,
mhm.
but my second daughter was born in Michigan, where after 3 months I went back to
You don't
work.
get a year off.
I
Yes.
didn't get a year off.
Yeah.
So I mean, to be honest, I was not okay. Like looking back, I was at the and it couldn't. My mom was helping me, my husband was helping me, but like that motherhood feeling of like this feels undoable was very strong. Um, and so I pull from that feeling a lot when helping parents because I remember just feeling like I didn't feel like a good mom. I just felt like I wasn't doing anything well. And I know now that's not the truth, but the state of my home made me feel it made me feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, as you talk about this, right? You talked about the course. So I want
Yeah.
to jump into that, and I do want to talk about Pretty Pantry.
Yeah.
You're an organizer, which is, this is where I think I'm so glad we're having this conversation. People who are in service-based businesses, you're
Mhm.
doing the thing. sometimes we want to like scale a little bit. We want to not
Mm,
so a course is really a good option, right?
yeah,
But someone might say, how do I put organizing into a course? So talk to us about your course. What's the name of it? How did you
yeah,
put it together? That kind of stuff.
yeah. So the name of my course is called Clutter to Calm, right? Because
Hmm.
that's people feel like they're full of clutter, and then it's like okay. And when I work with clients who went through the course, they were like, "Ah, my space feels so much calmer," right?
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
goal. I
Hmm.
also like that title because calm is personal, right? What feels calming to me is gonna be different from you, and my goal is not for the space to look like I want it to look. The course is designed for you to be able to work through a space in your home for 6 weeks and get it to look how you want it to look.
I
But
love
I
it.
guide you along the way with different questions and tasks to get there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So tell me about the target for the course. Who's the target for the course?
Same target audience, moms who are really busy, who have some skills to work on it on their own. A lot of
Hmm.
people actually do, but they're just not sure where to start.
Hmm.
And then there's just very tiny, small, doable tasks that they have to do every day. And because a huge part of my ministry is rest,
Hmm.
and just resting as a person, as a mom, as a wife, just giving yourself permission to rest, it's built into the course
I love
because
it.
that is just very me. So
Hmm.
when you ask like how do you write this course, I knew something in there had to be reflective of my thought when it comes to organizing. And so they do a week's worth of work, and at the end of every week, they pause to like reflect, like, huh, what looks better? What I want to change? What am I
Nice,
learning?
nice, nice. Tula, shout out to you for saying this is my ministry because you do know the name of this podcast is the
Yeah.
Monetize the Ministry podcast, right? So shout out to
Mhm.
you for that. So tell us now, all right, Pretty Pantry. And as I'm seeing your journey, I feel
Mhm.
like you're niching down as you go. You talk about pivoting,
Mhm.
but you
Yeah.
started off organizing. I'm just
Mhm. I
organizing,
did. I did.
right? And I think it's, I love this because for some people, listen, I coach people and I want them to niche down, but I also realize sometimes you don't need to put that pressure on yourself. Start and then we can niche down. So you started off
Yeah.
and then you started like, okay, it's for like moms. And now you're even like pantries. So talk to us about Pretty Pantry, how you
Mhm.
got on that. And then like tell someone who is watching this, listening to this as a mom, why, how they can connect with you. So
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So what happened was I got to a point where I was now confident, right? Because I went through a few years where I was really successful, um, but then started feeling like I don't know that I want to do this full time, right?
mm-hmm,
'Cause I actually love being a speech language pathologist. There's a whole story in there. The job that I do as a speech language pathologist, I've just hit my 2-year anniversary, and I love it.
mm-hmm,
And think it's crazy that I can do 2 things that I love, but I love it, and so getting that position solidified for me, like, okay, I know I don't wanna do this full time, right? Even
mm-hmm,
though that was a hard decision because other people are doing it full time. I knew I didn't wanna do it full time, and then so the question was, well, I don't wanna abandon it completely, so what can I do? I initially I don't know if people know this, Pretty Pantry was what I
mm-hmm.
wanted to do when I started my business in,
Wow.
like, 2015, officially
Wow.
when I started it, yes, is what I wanted to do, and a little voice, right? You're not as confident, was like, "You can't just do pantries, that doesn't make sense." But pantries in my business have always been my favorite part, and it's what I'm really good at.
Wow.
Plus, most pantries have 0 emotions attached to it, and I say that because if I'm going to help someone, and I'm not doing it full time, I don't like, I have to think about how much time I'm putting in.
Mm-hmm,
Right? I don't necessarily have the time to spend with someone who's, like, trying to let go of sentimental things or, you know, but I wouldn't have been able to come to that decision honestly if I hadn't taken that journey like you said, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, that's how I came to Pantries, and it was so crazy when I made the announcement, people were so excited. My email was like, "Can you help me?" Like, I just was so shocked at me stepping into another purpose.
Mm.
People were, like, in agreement. I just
It's almost
never
like they saw it before you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's where that came from, and I still love it. I absolutely, and
Love
it's funny because again, I remember now I have tons of friends who are also organizers. They're doing it full time. They're doing different things, but I have peace knowing like I'm okay with just doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So
Tola, tell someone how they can connect with you. Like, do I have to be in the Maryland area? And then the course, like, tell us all things that we can work with you.
so this is my favorite part. You don't have to be in the Maryland area.
Okay.
Going into Pantries provided me with the opportunity. I knew that I wanted to do more things, that I wasn't just targeting my local community. So yes, the course is available to anybody who wants it. It's a course, like I said, it's a 6-week course. It comes with the support from me where you get to connect with me,
Oh,
via the phone or video a few times throughout while you're doing it just to
nice.
check in. And
The
it's just
website.
very doable.
Give us the website.
I'm gonna have to. I have it, but
Okay.
I don't even know it off the
Okay.
top.
Well, I have something for you. At least we know we
It's
can
in the link.
connect.
The link is there at
Okay.
prettypantry.co. You can go in my link in my bio and see the links for the course. And then, but also I support people more than ever virtually than I do in person now. Because my in-person time is for my family, it really is. And I feel like
Yeah.
my kids are just getting older and I wanted to be here. So the main 2 services that I have is just I have a client that clients that I work with, and we just get on phone calls and they're going through their pantry, right? They've paid me for a set number of sessions. But I also have this really new thing that I started this year called Pantry Parties. And we get all together on a Sunday morning, and they might be like 5 people on the call, and they're literally physically just sorting out their pantry, but like coming back and asking me questions and like, where should I
Nice.
put this? Or what should I put this in?
I
And
love this.
so it allows me to have a wider target audience and work with a lot of different people.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this again. You know why? Because people who are service based, right? I might be a designer. What you're doing, right? Very hands on. We think
Yeah.
there's no way for me to
Mm,
not be present, do the thing, give up
mhm.
my hours, work with
Yeah.
one person at a time.
Yeah.
And you are proof that
Yeah.
with just some creativity, thinking
Yeah.
outside the box, I can work with multiple people
Yeah.
and they actually enjoy it because
Yeah.
they're getting community and they're getting
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When someone hires you, they're hiring you for your expertise. So how can you share the expertise with them?
I love that point that they're coming to you for your expertise.
Yeah.
Honestly, they don't really care if they get all your time. They just want to know they can get what they need to get. They need to
Yeah.
learn it and see the result. I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Toula, tell us again how we can connect with you, and say it for the people who are going to be listening to this podcast. They may not see it on the screen.
Okay, awesome. So all things related to organizing, you can find me at Pretty Pantry or Pretty.Pantry Co. on Instagram. And then you can also follow me at I am Toula Adu on Instagram. And that's kind of where I get into all things motherhood, which we'll have to chat about another time. But yeah, that's where people can kind of see 2 parts of my life.
So go follow Toula at pretty.pantryco.
Yes.
Pretty.pantryco, or follow her at I am Toula Adu. That's AIAM TOULAADU.
Yes.
Did I get it right? All right.
Yep. And I feel like there you get to know me, both of those pages.
I love it. Let me make sure I put this on the screen for those who are the viewers, and then I said it for those who are listeners. Listen, Toula, thank you so much. If you're just watching this, hopefully we've cleaned up all of the video stuff, but I want to thank you, Toula, for your patience while my internet didn't want me to be great.
We had a great conversation. Thank you so much.
I need an organizer for my internet.
I don't know how much I can offer that.
If you need help, like I do with my pantry, and I'm not part of the target audience, but if you need help with that and just really organizing life, please make sure you reach out to Toula and take the lessons from this. This is what I really want, right? I don't care if you're not part of the target audience. Everyone Toula spoke to you today. Take these lessons and go increase your income.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Monetize Your Ministry podcast with Kymone Hines. For more information, visit our website at www.monetizeyourministrypodcast.com. That's www.monetizeyourministrypodcast.com. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please share this episode with someone who needs it. Let's increase our income and impact.